is the war against everything Russian in Ukraine. Can you imagine that for example, in Ireland, they canceled the English language, or in Belgium they canceled French, or in Switzerland they canceled German? Can you, or in Finland they canceled Swedish? Can you even imagine this? Of course not. But nobody lifted a finger, not the small one, not the middle one, when the Russian language was totally cancelled in Ukraine. We have been knocking on all these doors. OSCE, Council of Europe, guys, why don't you say something? Why don't you tell them to behave? And during all these 8 years, I don't recall that your conference was addressing this problem.
See, the question everyone asks here, and that's what comes from the other side is, oh, the end to the war is simple. If Russia stops fighting, the war ends. And then perhaps there can be negotiations. Is there some end game which you are playing or the other side is playing? Where does this all take us? See, countries in the region are aghast at what is happening. They're affected by what is happening. Food, fertilizer, energy.
Countries of the region are affected not by what we are doing in Ukraine. They're affected by the reaction of the West to what we are doing in Ukraine after we had warned them for decades, you know, that they should stop this expansion of NATO and pushing arms into Ukraine to prepare them for the war against us. I just participated yesterday in the G20 ministerial, and our Western friends were shouting in the microphones, Russia must, Russia must, Russia must. And all the developing delegates, they were also saying, you know, we want to stop the war when Russia is ready to negotiate. If you are really interested in politics and in the root causes of this particular situation, then you would know that Biden, Blinken, Stoltenberg, Borrell repeatedly stated that Russia must be defeated on the battlefield. Russia must suffer strategic defeat. And this, they say, is existential for the West in the context of global domination. It's a very blunt admittance, I would say.
So both sides, the way I look at it.
One second. And the entire G20 was only about what to do with Ukraine and the final declaration, can we have it or not. I asked the Indian friends and the Indonesian friends who were cheering the G20 and those who were cheering G20 before Indonesia for all these long years, whether G20 ever reflected in those declarations situation in Iraq, in Libya, in Afghanistan, or in Yugoslavia, because G20 was formed in 1999 at the level of ministers of finance and central bank directors. And in 2008 it became Summit G20. Nobody was giving a damn about anything except finances and macroeconomic policies, which G20 was formed for. These days, when it is not something which the West is doing, believing this, that it's right, when Russia has, after many years of warnings, started to defend itself, there is nothing except Ukraine which is of interest for G20. It's a shame. It's a shame, and this policy would fail. If they say this is existential for them, it is existential for us.
But there are lots of other countries out there who want peace, who want this war to end, and they would like somewhere a line to be drawn and negotiations to start. Now, what is the end game? Where do you see this? See, this war cannot go on forever. You don't want to be stuck here for 20 years and repeat Afghanistan all over again.
You would be ideal propagandist of the Soviet Union style, you know.
Thank you.
Calling for peace, calling against the war. I am trying to explain to you that it is not black and white, that the sufferings of others are not related to what we are doing in Ukraine to defend ourselves at all. These sufferings are related to the sanctions, to the policy of blackmail, the policy of diktat, which the West is promoting. You know that all of them, Blinken, Stoltenberg, Borrell, ministers of European countries, they travel all over the globe and tell the countries to behave. Join sanctions, vote the way we tell you, and so on and so forth. If they are such big democrats, I mean, they should respect the right of other countries to take their own positions. Putin explained in great detail before we started this operation why we are doing this, why we didn't have any other choice. The West condemned. Treat others as grown-ups, as mature people. Don't tell them what position to take. The developing world basically was silent until the West started blackmailing them, threatening them, sanctioning those who would not sanction Russia. You know what? Many friends of mine in the developing world, they're telling me how this is being done. When the West says, the Americans tell them, you must vote this way or else. And they say, okay, I will vote the way you want me because I believe this can be explained by the United Nations Charter and so on and so forth, but what do I get in return? And the answer from the Americans is, you would not be punished. Fair deal, very fair deal. Then I have quite a number of friends in New York, and when I was there for the last General Assembly, I talked to them, and they were, many, if not most of them, were saying that they fully understand what is going on, and that we should not be angry at the way they vote. And they told me what arguments the Americans have been using when they persuaded people to vote in the General Assembly against Russia. The arguments were very straight. Don't forget that you have a bank account in such and such bank, and don't forget that your kids go to Stanford. Bluntly. And I am sure that there are many people in this room who know that this is true.
So, Minister, we're running out of time, so just a last thing before I pass on for two quick questions from the audience. See, I agree that smart bombs don't exist, smart sanctions don't exist. No matter how much bombing you do, nothing is going to work out. You are going to cause damage, you are taking innocent lives all along. Similarly, smart sanctions, agree with you, don't exist. There will always be possibilities. Collateral damage is extremely high. So there, yes, both sides need to get together and find a solution. But the point is that somewhere there has to be a line drawn to, okay, let diplomacy have a chance. Let's start talking once again.
Look, you
No, but I'll
really
pass.
surprised me.
The questions,
My dear friend, you surprised me because if you raise this issue,
yeah.
you should have done some homework. Do you know that Zelensky, everybody is asking when Russia is ready to negotiate, when Russia is ready to negotiate. The West continuously is saying that it is not time to negotiate yet because Ukraine must win in the battlefield before any negotiations. And Zelensky himself, nobody calls on Zelensky asking him when he is going to negotiate, but you should have known, preparing for this topic at this meeting, that in September last year, Zelensky signed a decree making it a criminal offense to negotiate with Russia as long as Putin is president. So can you address this issue? Can you invite him and ask him what he is doing?
Can I take two quick questions from our Raisina young fellows? I'm sorry, we are out of time.
He is our man. He is from Russia.
What did he say?
Sorry, you'll have to come to a mic. Raisina young fellows, please sit down. Please sit down. I've not taken a question.
Why not?
The first question goes to Raisina young fellows.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm Ryosuke Hanada. Raisina young fellow.
Speak louder.
Yes, my question is about the Sino-Russia relations and its impact on the India-Russia relations, because India is now facing China's assertive challenges in its Himalayan border and the Indian Ocean region. So from last year, there's a dramatic change in the Russia-China relations. There's many joint exercises around Japan, around India. So how does Russia calculate the strategic cost and benefit of deepening its relationship with China, especially its impact on Russia-India relations? Thank you.
Well, we never make friends against somebody. We have excellent relations with China and excellent relations with India. The relations with India are characterized in the official documents signed by the two leaders as especially privileged strategic partnership. I don't know whether any other country has the same status on paper officially with our Indian friends, but this is what we believe is reflecting the reality, be it economy, be it technology, be it military cooperation, military technical cooperation, culture, humanitarian ties, educational ties, and we have relations with China that, you know, they never been that good from the very beginning of the existence of China. And we are interested in these two great nations to be friends. And we are trying to be helpful. It was at the initiative of my great predecessor, Evgeny Primakov, that RIC was created, Russia, India, China, Troika. He initiated this, and this was the beginning of the process which eventually culminated in BRICS formation, and now BRICS is very popular among about 24 countries who would like to join. But the momentum was ensured by the decision to create this Troika, Russia, India, China. And you might not hear about this as much as of BRICS, but this Troika continues to function. We met last year, and we are going to meet this year again at the ministerial level. I think it would be 21st or 22nd meeting already. Experts in economy, in trade and technology also meet. Think tanks people meet regularly. They were supposed to meet actually sometimes this spring, but then our Indian colleagues asked for some postponement. My feeling is the more they meet, the better. And RIC is a platform for India and China in our presence, because they might not feel themselves comfortable being one-on-one all the time, you know, to find some additional common grounds. BRICS is another platform, and of course we strongly supported India joining Shanghai Cooperation Organization, including from the point of view of providing another place where India and China can cooperate together and can look for some common solutions. So, and we will continue this policy. We never engage in playing any country against any other country. And this is, unfortunately, what is being tried by some other outside players in the context of so-called Indo-Pacific strategies, in the context of AUKUS, in the context of using Quad, not for economic purposes, but trying to militarize Quad. The idea promoted by our American friends of ASEAN plus Quad is openly aimed at ruining East Asia summits. In other words, it would be East Asia summits minus China and minus Russia. These are the questions which I believe you should address more openly and honestly. Those are the risks created for this region. Russia would always be in favor of bringing people together, like we do in many other countries.
Second question over there.
Minister, my
Raisina,
question is
so
very
sorry.
simple.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Mridula and I'm from India, another Raisina young fellow. Just a related question on how the war has affected Russia's strategy on energy, and will it mark a pivot towards Asia? And if it does, how is India going to feature in it?
Can you repeat this? The
What-
acoustics. is not-
How has the war in Russia, how has this war affected Russia's energy interests? Is
Energy.
Energy. Is it pivoting towards Asia? And is it the deepening relationship about gas into India and all that she's asking about?
You know, the war which we are trying to stop and which was launched against us using Ukrainian people, of course, it influenced the policy of Russia, including energy policy, and the blunt way to describe what is the change, what changed, we would not anymore rely on any partners in the West. We would not allow them to blow the pipelines again. By the way, we asked for investigation, and immediately this investigation request was denied. The Americans called it a nonsense, and when Seymour Hersh published his findings, you saw what the reaction of Europeans and the Americans was. Germany was humiliated, and physically, and morally, and in any other way. Everything which is happening now is to reduce Europe to subordinate player for the United States, to undercut European competitive edge, and of course to ruin the economic link between Russia and the European Union. This is very obvious. So be it. If this is the choice of them, which fits, by the way, in the rhetoric, in the narrative that what is going on is existential for the West from the point of view of its ability to dominate, and everything fits into place.
Thank you, Minister.
And the energy policy of Russia will be oriented towards reliable partners, credible partners. India and China are certainly among them.
Thank you so much, Minister. It was great talking to you. A pleasure having you here in Raisina. I hope next time we meet in Raisina, we meet in less contentious times. Are we going to promise that? Come.
Well, the Americans would certainly suggest some questions which you can use.
Thank you very much. So, please thank the panelists for their interventions this afternoon, and we will now move to our lunch sessions. There is lunch